Time to see what's happening on Wall Street on this Wednesday. Let's go ahead and send it to Newsmax Director of Financial Letters, Jeff Yastine, who joins us right now. Jeff, we and I have always been talking day in and day out about saying, gee, where are the really interesting numbers? When is something really going to happen? Well, got our wish today thanks to oil prices, didn't we?
Yeah, certainly. Again, this continuing decline in oil prices. Last I looked, this is for light sweet crude, Texas crude, hitting around 61, 62 barrels a day, and more record lows for recent years since around 2009. It's scaring traders, and everybody's wondering, gee, maybe there isn't the growth out there in the at least in the global economy. Although certainly the U.S. economy seems assured of it for now. But nonetheless, it is spurring some selling. The Dow down about 150 points. The S&P 500 down 14, 15 points. The NASDAQ down about 30, 31 points.
Isn't the simplest explanation here to say that there just isn't enough demand for all the oil that's being pumped out of the ground right now?
Yes, that is the very simplest explanation for it. The concern is about the potential wider repercussions because there have been a lot of bonds issued by energy companies in recent years, $120 billion worth or so just in the last 3 years. And we saw some news last week and concern about whether certain Texas banks might be overexposed as these asset values begin to decline. Will they run into another situation where the asset value of the loans that these banks are on the hook for may not match up to what they're actually owed? Those sorts of things. So, and also again, it is the end of the year. There really isn't that much other news out there. So they don't have any other choice, it seems, for traders at least, except to turn around and sell.
All right, couple of pieces of news here. Boeing, 15 Boeing attack jets being sold to the military here. That's $1.46 billion allocated to the military. Boeing's going to make a very nice, healthy profit, won't they?
Yes, and this is part of the broader spending bill, which basically about $550 billion or so for the Pentagon in aggregate. This is a big win for the Missouri congregation because these EA-18 Prowlers are largely built in the St. Louis area. They employ around 13,000 people, and there was some concern whether these new F-35 jets might somehow be able to take on this role of electronic jamming and disrupting of enemy communications and combat operations. But it seems like the Pentagon is moving forward with more of these purchases. And again, it's a win in places like Missouri where they have a big economic stake with this.
We talk about oil a lot. Let's also talk about the Federal Reserve, because now there's a Reuters poll out saying that they will likely raise the interest rates. I think we've been talking about this, and we've mentioned the second quarter of next year anyway, despite everything that's happening here. So still on track for second quarter, look like the best bet?
It does. And like you said, this isn't really news per se. However, there is a Fed meeting coming up next week. It's a 2-day meeting. And with this survey in mind, there's some thought that perhaps that at the end of that meeting next week, I believe it ends on Wednesday, we may see, once again, the removal, or the concern is that we may see the removal from the language of the statement in which the Fed says that they're going to keep rates low for a quote-unquote considerable period of time. Maybe they remove that reference, and economists say that would be the signal that the Fed is intent on raising interest rates for the first time, obviously in many years, second quarter of next year.
Jeff, I only got about 30 seconds left, but let me ask, and again, this is just a guess. I understand that we're all just wandering in territory here. But when we talk about the raising of the interest rate by the Fed, is there an idea as to how much they might raise it, what that increment might be?
I think the economists, generally speaking, I think they're looking for a minimal amount. If they're going to move, they're only going to do it in tiny, tiny baby steps to give the market time to adjust. So, a quarter of a percentage point, and that's the Fed funds rate. We'll see how that affects the actual benchmark, which is the 10-year note.
Right. So we're just making sure the consumers know, because I actually had that question from a lot of people who've said, you keep telling us it's going up. Where's it going? So I figured about a quarter percent might be exactly where it's going to be. By the way, I want to remind everybody, you want to find out what's happening on Wall Street, finding out what happens about money around the world, make sure you go to Newsmax.com, click, I should say. That's a tough day. It's got to be Wednesday. Click on the Money tab as well. That's where you read about Jeff Yastine, all the rest of the guys there, and the gals telling us what's happening around the world in Wall Street as well. Jeff, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Thursday.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, there we go. And by the way, last time we checked, it said that oil had hit about $60.94 a barrel, I think. It was at $60 and change is what it came into. All right, when we come back, unbelievable. A Republican president, a Democratic senator getting along. We'll talk about that and more when MidPoint continues.